Hello, and welcome to the LexPD YouTube channel. Today we're going to walk you through the LexPD Ontario Bar Index. We've been creating this index for many years, and every year we gather a small group of students, usually around 10 to 11, to help us create the index for the upcoming bar cycle. So that work generally happens in the spring, right about now if you're watching this video as it's being released. And we release our index at the end of April or the beginning of May for every bar cycle. The index matches the latest version of the LSO materials, the Law Society of Ontario materials, and is valid for 3 exam cycles. So generally the LSO will release their materials in the spring. That will be the materials that you would use for the June or July bar sittings, the October bar sittings, and the March bar sitting of the following year. Then the LSO will release new materials for the summer of the following year, and we would update our index as well. Creating an index is an incredible amount of work, but it's an incredibly useful tool as well. Because the LSO materials are vast and the exam is open book, you absolutely need a tool to help you navigate to the specific sections of the materials in the exam hall. You can't memorize everything on the Ontario Bar, so you will need to look up materials in the actual exam hall because the materials are, this thick, if maybe more, for each exam, both the barrister and the solicitor. Unless you have a means of navigating that material and finding exactly the minute detail of information you're looking for, you won't be able to find it in time. You'll run out of time on the exam. So the index is there to help you. It's there to help you find specific terms and detailed information at the drop of a hat. What you see on my screen now is the Civil Litigation 2023-2024 Index. This is just the version I'm using as an example, but we have indexes for every subject in both the barrister and solicitor exams. Each subject section of the index has a cover page like this, which tells you which subject it applies to. And then it jumps right in. Each one has a table of contents, which quickly outlines the chapter title, and the page number that starts on in the LSO materials. This would match the table of contents that is provided in the LSO materials itself. Certain subjects have abbreviations that we've used, so we've outlined those as well in a table. But the meat of the index is really this section here, all of these terms. So the way our index is sorted is there will be a section for each letter. All of these terms start with the letter A. And these are completely alphabetized. So from the first letter all the way through to the second term, you can see the first, this is abandonment applications, abandonment costs, because C comes after A. So if you're in the exam and you're thinking, all right, I need to look up something about abridgment when I'm pleadings or I'm delivering pleadings, you would come down, you'd look for the word abridgment, and then you would look for P, pleadings and delivery, instead of abridgment, on time, S, right? Once you find the term you're looking for, you then know what chapter number it's in your LSO materials, what page number it's in your LSO materials, and what section number on that page it's in. We also have this very handy AB next to the page numbers that tells you which column on the LSO materials it's in. So the LSO materials are a sort of landscape page, and they have 2 columns per page. So A would mean that the material is in the left column, and B would mean the materials are in the right column. Every letter starts on an odd page. If we scroll down to B, you'll see the A terms end here on the bottom of page 12, and the B terms start on page 13. This is not simply because A ended on 12. We actually will put gaps. So you'll see here, page 14 is blank because term B, it was just 1 page long. So rather than having C start on page 14, we leave a blank and we have C start on the odd page, which is 15. The reason for this is if you print your index double-sided, you always want the new letter to start on the right-hand page of your binder. Let's say you bind these materials double-sided, you would want the C to start on the right page so that you could tab that page and be able to flip to it very quickly in the exam hall. You don't want it to be sort of on the back side of the left page, because then you would have to tab that page, which would then actually be the B. So we've thought this through. We've made sure that the way that this index is laid out serves you and helps you move as quickly as possible during the bar exam. The other thing that we've done with our terms, you'll notice here we have what we call qualifiers. So we have the word, let's use one that's an example here. So there's many terms under sort of starting with the word evidence. We then have qualifiers. What about evidence is this term specifically referencing? Admissions, agreed statements of facts. Then we have evidence, admissions, against interest, hearsay. This is clearly referencing some of the hearsay exceptions for evidence in a criminal trial or a civil trial. We have also sorted these terms several different ways throughout the index. So there will be a sister term for each of these, what we call qualifiers, the word after the drafts. So if we were to go up to A, we would most likely find a term that says admissions, maybe then dash evidence. We may also find a term that says against interest, dash evidence, dash admissions, or dash admissions, dash evidence, depending on what the indexers decide is the most important term to put after. And you would probably find a term in H as well for hearsay, dash evidence, dash admissions against interest. This is so that no matter what word you think of first when you're in the exam, you will most likely find this term no matter what letter of the alphabet you decide to flip through. If hearsay is the first word that comes to mind and you flip to H looking for hearsay and then looking for the word evidence after hearsay, you will most likely find it in the index. That is the goal, is to make sure we have these terms represented in as many different letters of the alphabet as possible that make sense, of course, that are logical words that you might think of, so that no matter which word you think of, you are going to find out that the information in the civil litigation section of the LSO materials around admissions against interest and the hearsay rule is in Chapter 31 on page 283B in Section 32.1. So by way of quick example on that, I've just flipped to the A section of the index. I have then scrolled down to the AD to find the word admissions, and you can see here that there's an admissions hearsay. So there's one, and again, it's on page Chapter 31, page 283B, section 3.21. There's several different admissions ones in here. You would be able to find the very detail about admissions that you are looking for. And that is essentially what our index looks like. We think it's a vital tool, like I said, for passing the bar exam. It is the only way to be able to find and pinpoint detailed information during the exam. You will not be able to do this, quickly without some sort of reference tool to tell you where information is. The questions on the exam are very detailed. They are asking you to pick out very specific information from the LSO materials, which you're allowed to bring into the exam with you. But again, there's no way to actually memorize the level of detail that the questions ask you. So you will need to reference your materials, and you will need to know how to find information very quickly in your materials. I hope that was helpful. If you want to purchase our index, it is available at lexpd.ca/index. We have just released the 2023-2024 index today, if you're watching this video as it's being released. But like I said, we do this every single year. Generally, our index is released end of April, beginning of May of each year, right before the summer bar exam. So you will have it and you have time to study with it before you write your exam if you're writing in the summer. Of course, if you're writing in the fall or the spring sittings, the index will be there for you as well.